My mom sent me a text that simply read, "Don't come to the wedding. You and your kids just make things uncomfortable." No explanation, no conversation, just that one cold line lighting up my phone while I stood in the pharmacy waiting for a $140 prescription. Before I could even process it, my sister dropped a laughing emoji into the group chat like it was some inside joke. I stared at the screen, breathed once, and replied, "Then you won't be needing my card for the venue anymore." They kept laughing after that, tossing around little jokes between themselves, completely unaware that I was holding the one thing they were depending on. And that was the moment everything started to fall apart. Before I get into how it all unraveled, like and let me know in the comments if you've ever had family turn cruel the second you finally said you've had enough. People always ask the same question when I tell the story. How could your own mother and sisters treat you like that? The truth is, it didn't happen in one blow. It built, slowly, over years, the way rust eats away at metal. My mother, Angela, was an expert at turning guilt into a tool, and I was the easiest one for her to use. Since I was 16, she framed every plea for help as family sticking together, but somehow every act of togetherness meant I was the one paying for something. When Jenna and Megan headed off to college, it was me who co-signed their loans because Mom insisted, "You're the stable one. They just need a little push." And when our stepdad Rick got laid off for a while, it was me picking up the slack. I bought groceries, paid for utilities, even covered Mom's salon appointments because she swore she'd repay me when things improved. They never did. I grew up believing helping them was what made me a good daughter. I didn't realize until much later that in our family, affection came with a receipt. I'm 35 now, juggling a full-time accounting job at a pharmaceutical company, raising 2 kids on my own, and carrying the kind of exhaustion that only single parents understand. My days blur into spreadsheets, backpack checks, school drop-offs, and bedtime routines. And even with all of that, I still carved out time to be there for them. For months, I was practically running Jenna's wedding planning. Every invoice, every appointment, every deposit, my name, my card, my time. Jenna had her heart set on a lakeside venue with a glass-walled reception hall, the type of place that photographers love and that drains bank accounts. I kept telling myself she deserved it, that she was my sister and I was helping her build her dream day. I didn't see that I was funding a party I wasn't even invited to be part of. There were small warnings I ignored. Mom's voice tightening whenever I suggested splitting costs evenly. Jenna brushing off my questions like I was her assistant instead of her sister. "You're good with money," she'd say with a laugh. "You can handle it." And I did. $3,000 for the deposit, $1,200 for catering consults, $600 for floral tests, all sliding onto my credit card like it was nothing. I kept telling myself they'd pay me back when everything settled. They never even pretended to try. Still, I kept showing up. I went to dress fittings, spent weekends looking at table settings, tasted cake samples, toured the venue when Jenna said she was too stressed to go. Mom repeated the same line over and over. Family supports each other. I believed her right up until the moment she sent that text disinviting me. It hit harder than I expected, not because of the wedding itself, but because I realized I'd only been useful for what I could pay for, not who I was. Standing in that pharmacy line, I wasn't plotting revenge. I was thinking about every time I tried to earn my place, every time I swallowed my feelings because I wanted to belong. And that one message made it all painfully simple. I wasn't part of their celebration, I was their wallet. And I was done. The next morning, the group chat was still active, buzzing with jokes and smug little comments. More laughing emojis, more snide remarks, even a meme of a bridesmaid falling on her face. It wasn't random, it was coordinated. They were enjoying it. I watched the messages roll in, then muted the chat with a single tap, and the silence that followed felt heavier than anything I could have replied. I sat at the edge of my bed and thought about the last 6 months. The hours I lost, the weekends I sacrificed with my kids, the money I poured into a wedding I was apparently too awkward to attend. More than $4,000 gone. And the thing that hurt most wasn't the debt. It was how easily they discarded me. That night, Rick called. He didn't say much, but he had clearly seen the group chat. His voice was soft, almost apologetic. "You don't deserve that, Adeline. You've done more than anyone else for this wedding." I could hear how torn he felt, caught between loyalty and honesty. I told him I was fine. He didn't believe me, but he let it drop. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and pulled up the contract for the venue. I had forgotten how bold my name was on that first page. Primary contact, Adeline Moore. It looked almost official, like I had unknowingly claimed authority I never meant to use. The apartment was quiet around me, the kids asleep. And for the first time, I realized this small, peaceful space was the only place where I wasn't being used. Outside these walls, everything belonged to them. The manipulation, the expectations, the guilt. But this, my home, my life, was mine. I opened an old draft email from the venue coordinator, the one she'd sent weeks earlier confirming the booking details. Her words echoed in my head. "You can reach out anytime if you need to make changes." Without letting myself think too hard, I typed, "Is cancellation possible if needed?" and hit send. Her reply came back quickly. "Yes, since you're the primary on file." I read it twice. My heartbeat didn't even spike. For the first time in years, I felt steady. They assumed I'd stay quiet, keep unding their plans, keep trying to prove I belonged. They never imagined that I had the power to pull the plug completely. But that's exactly what was about to happen. I didn't cancel it immediately. I waited 2 days, long enough for them to keep their jokes going, long enough for the silence on my end to turn into something that made them uneasy. By Wednesday, Jenna posted an Instagram story with fancy lettering, 12 days until forever. I watched it for a few seconds, then opened my laptop. The venue coordinator, Melissa, answered on the second ring. She recognized my voice instantly. I was the only one from our family who ever actually showed up to the meetings. "Hi, Adeline. Are we finalizing the last payment today?" she asked cheerfully. "Actually," I said, keeping my tone flat and calm, "I need to cancel the event." There was a small pause, a thoughtful one, not surprised. Then she said, "Understood. The contract is under your name, so I'll process the cancellation now." And just like that, the wedding evaporated. Instead of guilt, I felt something like quiet relief. Not triumph, not anger, just a deep, heavy calm. After hanging up, I opened the muted group chat. They were still at it, sharing memes about me being dramatic, telling each other to ignore the negativity. I almost let out a tiny laugh because in a few hours, they were going to experience real drama. Later that afternoon, I called Carla and Denise, my closest friends from college. They'd gotten married during the pandemic and never had the chance to throw a proper celebration. When I told them the date and venue were suddenly open, they thought I was joking. "No joke," I said. And that was how everything truly started. "It's yours if you want it. My treat." There was silence, then soft crying through the line. They didn't know it, but they were saving me too. Giving that day a new purpose meant I didn't have to carry its ugliness anymore. By evening, the group chat had gone quiet. I knew why. The payment must have bounced, and the venue had probably sent the cancellation notice. I imagined the panic spreading like wildfire. Jenna refreshing her email, Mom pacing the living room, Megan typing in all caps. I poured myself a glass of water, leaned against the counter, and waited. Not out of cruelty, but curiosity. How long would it take before they realized the only person who ever kept things together was gone? They had turned my kindness into a joke. Now they were about to learn what happens when the punchline walks away. The fallout started faster than I expected. By Thursday morning, my phone was vibrating nonstop. Jenna, Mom, and Megan all calling, all leaving the same frantic messages. "Why did the venue say the booking's gone? Adeline, call me back right now. What did you do?" I didn't answer. I wanted them to feel that silence. For once, they could sit in the confusion they'd built for me all these years. By noon, Rick called. His tone was low but steady. "They're losing it," he said. "Jenna's crying, your mom's yelling, and Megan's trying to find someone to blame. I told them this would happen." He paused. "I'm sorry, kiddo. You deserved better." I didn't cry. I just said, "Thank you for seeing it." That night, my mother called my house phone, a number she hadn't dialed in years. The ring sounded foreign in my own home. When I answered, she didn't waste time with greetings. "How could you do this to your sister? You sabotaged her wedding." I let her rant, her voice sharp and trembling. When she finally stopped to breathe, I asked quietly, "Was I even invited anymore?" There was silence. Then she tried to backtrack. "You took that message the wrong way. We were joking. You know Jenna gets stressed. She didn't mean it." I almost laughed. "You all thought it was funny enough to post memes." "Adeline, she said I needed that meme," her voice trembling between anger and guilt. "Don't make this worse. Just fix it." I hung up. No yelling, no dramatic exit, just a clean disconnect. The next morning, I met Rick for coffee downtown. He looked tired, the kind of tired that lives in your eyes. "Your mom's been impossible," he said. "Jenna's calling every venue within 50 miles, but everything's booked." "What about the catering?" I asked. He shook his head. "Refunds are gone, non-transferable." For the first time, I saw the corners of his mouth twitch into something close to a smile. "You know, I told her if she doesn't apologize to you, I'm not paying a dime." I sipped my coffee, letting the warmth fill the quiet between us. "And what did she say?" He looked down. "She said I'm being manipulated by you." I smiled back. "Maybe you're just paying attention." By Sunday, the silence from their end turned eerie. No calls, no updates, not even a single post from Jenna. I thought that was the end of it, until Rick texted, "They found a new venue. Wednesday evening, cheap banquet hall outside town." He didn't need to say more. I could picture it already. The fluorescent lights, folding chairs, buffet trays steaming under tinfoil. On the day of the wedding, it rained. Not a soft drizzle, but a cold, relentless downpour that turned the parking lot into a puddle. I wasn't there, but I didn't have to be. People sent me photos. A cousin texted, "What happened? It looks sad." Jenna didn't tag me in anything, of course, but Megan slipped up, posted a blurry shot of the hall, beige walls, plastic flowers, cheap sound system. The caption read, "Round 2, no drama." The irony almost made me laugh. Later that night, Rick called. "You won't believe this," he said. During the bouquet toss, one of Jenna's old friends caught it and shouted that the groom's still been texting her. Whole place went silent. I covered my mouth, not out of shock, but to hide the smile I didn't want him to hear. "Your mom blamed me," Rick continued. "Said I invited the wrong people. Said this is all my fault. I told her she pushed away the only person who ever kept this family together." He exhaled long and heavy. I think she finally understood it. Maybe not the words, but the silence after. When the call ended, I sat on my couch for a long time, listening to the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the faint breathing of my kids asleep down the hall. I expected to feel vindicated, maybe triumphant, but instead I felt calm, like something heavy had finally slid off my chest. The next morning, Jenna texted me for the first time since the chaos began. "You must feel proud of yourself. Everyone's talking about how cold you are." I stared at the message, thumb hovering over the screen. For a moment, I considered replying, explaining, defending myself. But what would be the point? She didn't want the truth. She wanted a reaction. So I put the phone face down and let it buzz against the table until it stopped. A few days later, Rick texted again. 2 words. "I'm leaving." I called him immediately. "You mean, yeah?" He said, "I told your mom I'm done. I can't live in a house where decency is treated like betrayal." His voice softened. "I added your name to my insurance, by the way. You're the only one who ever treated me like family." My throat tightened, but no tears came. I just said, "Thank you." That night, I walked out to the balcony. The rain had stopped. The air smelled clean, like everything had been washed new. I thought about the text that started it all. My mom's cold words, the emojis, the laughter. They thought I was being petty when I pulled away, but they never understood. It wasn't revenge, it was release. For years, I'd been paying for their peace. Now, for the first time, it was mine. Rick moved out a week later. No fight, no shouting, just a quiet departure that said everything words couldn't. He left a note on my doorstep, written in his small, careful handwriting. "You were right to walk away first." When we met for coffee a few days later, he looked lighter, younger somehow. "The house is unbearable," he said. "Your mom's pretending everything's fine, but Megan's unemployed and Jenna's drowning in debt from that wedding." He stirred his cup slowly. "You know what's funny? They still haven't apologized. Not once." I smiled, but there was no satisfaction in it, just understanding. They can't. Apologies mean admitting the well is dry. He laughed softly, then handed me a small envelope. Inside was a check. "Part of that loan I took for them," he said. "They'll never see a dime of it again, but you deserve this back." I shook my head and slid it back toward him. "Keep it, Rick. You paid enough already." Later that night, I sat on my balcony watching the city lights blink below. My phone buzzed, a text from Mom. "You've made your point, but this is still your family." I read it once, then typed back, "I didn't cut anyone off. I just stopped funding my own mistreatment." She never replied. Inside, my kids were laughing, building a pillow fort in the living room. I looked at them and realized that peace wasn't loud or flashy. It was quiet, steady, and finally mine. For the first time in years, I didn't feel responsible for everyone else's happiness, just my own. I used to think love meant staying, no matter how much it hurt, that loyalty was about carrying the weight, even when it wasn't mine. But now I know love without respect is just control dressed as care. Walking away wasn't revenge, it was survival. If there's one thing this whole mess taught me, it's that peace doesn't always come from fixing what's broken. It comes from finally letting it fall. So if you've ever had to choose between your peace and your family's approval, take it from me. Choose peace. You'll sleep better. You'll breathe again. And if this story hit a little too close to home, tell me where you're watching from. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories.